can still buy property in Brisbane for under $500,000 within 15 kilometers of the CBD in what is going to be the fastest growing capital city in Australia. My name is Adam Panisi. Hit that like and subscribe button because I talk about all things property and how to retire early, not signing up to the 30-year mortgage plan like everybody else. I've got a couple of hundred property deals in the pipeline, and I bought my very first property when I was just 22 years old. So buckle up and I'll get right into it. Show you specific example properties that have sold recently and why I believe this suburb is going up in value by looking at the statistics and the growth from the suburb. These properties that I will show you have a greater than 5% return from the rental income. If you compare the properties that I'm about to show you to those in Sydney or Melbourne that are within a 15-kilometer ring, it's likely these ones are going to be about double the rental income than those properties in Sydney and Melbourne. This first booming suburb is called Morningside, and it's actually this suburb where I did my very first property deal. And it was in Morningside next to the train station that I built 5 houses. But this suburb is 5 kilometers east of Brisbane CBD, and I'll take you over to some properties which have sold recently, which I think are very good buying under 500,000. This one, it is a unit. I'm not very fond of buying units, but I do think that these properties, especially for the price point, will perform pretty well over the short to medium term. So it's a top floor apartment. You can see that there. And one other thing I just want to point out is that it's in a small complex. So when you are buying a unit, if you are in the market for units, be very selective. Make sure they're in very small complexes. Similar to this, low body corporate, no lifts, no pools. So your ongoing cost of maintenance is cheap. And also this is a fairly new building. So you're not going to have huge amounts of money spent on maintenance and things like that. You can see it's pretty nice and clean. It's a set and forget investment. This property just sold for $480,000, which I think is not a bad buy considering the construction cost on this unit alone would be almost that price. So to replace this unit in today's market would be almost $500,000, basically the purchase price. And this is it here. It's on 1762 Richmond Road. It is a bit of a thoroughfare, but it is on the corner of a really nice road in this area. You can see the rental return is going to be around about 550 to 600 with high confidence. And I'm just on realestate.com looking at this. 485,000 was a sold price. You can see even in 2015, it basically sold for the same price. Now we're talking about buying this basically at replacement value. Next property I'm going to show you is also a unit in the same suburb in Morningside. It was listed in November last year, sold not too long after that, and it's the ground floor unit, so it is good if people want extra space outside of a unit. Now, I think the last one I showed you was definitely a better buy than this one. This building is a bit older, the unit is a bit older, but it almost is similar to like a townhouse. Now it's sold for a similar sort of price, but you can see the kitchen is a lot more dated than the last one. So it does need a bit of TLC. It is under $500,000, but I do think the last one I showed you was a better buy than this one. But you can get a bit of an idea on the fittings and fixtures. It's a bit of an older unit. It's about 25 years old. This complex, you can see the bathroom needs a bit of a makeover. So it needs a little bit of work done to it. There's going to be some higher maintenance costs. Your depreciation isn't going to be as high on this one, but in saying that, again, replacement value on something like this is going to be similar to the sold price. So let's just jump down. This is in Beret Street in Morningside. Again, it's in a very good pocket of Morningside where homes in the area are going to be minimum of $1.5 million. Your rental income, it's going to be a bit lower because it's not going to be as new, but it is in a better pocket. And you're in an older building, so over time that building could be bought up by a developer, so you could get a lot more capital growth. And you can see if you scroll down the list in 2016, it sold for 300, so now we're at 490, so it's still sub 500. I don't think this is fantastic buying, but I still think it's not too bad. We're in a small complex, low body corporates. You're going to have some more maintenance costs on this. And you can see year built 1997, so it's about 25 odd years old. Now I'm just going to show you some stats why I picked Morningside as a suburb and why these properties are going to grow in value. Have a look at the buy price. The typical price is $643,000. Typical rent, $529 per week. And the yield typical is 4.27%. This is for a unit, remember? So then you have a look at typical prices. And you can see back in 2021, the unit market started to uptick across the board for this suburb. And we're in 2024 at the moment. So we're going 3 years of relatively steady growth for the unit cycle. But what I find more interesting, and generally markets follow a cycle, which is off the back of houses. So houses in this area have only started to uptick into their boom cycle from the start of 2023. So you can see at the start of 2023, they started to uptick. So we're really only about 12, maybe 18 months max into the housing market boom cycle. So as the housing market continues to grow, the unit market is more likely than not going to follow it, because you got that pricing disparity, what you buy a house for versus what you can buy a unit for. And that difference in price is what's called the pricing disparity. And as that price gets greater, in other words, as houses get more expensive, units will follow suit in these areas, especially when you're talking about buying below replacement value. If you're buying below replacement value and new units come to the market, developers like myself, we have to build units to make a profit, or have to build stock to make a profit, which means it's going to push up the surrounding stock in the surrounding suburb. Then the supply on market for units. So you've got 8 listings, the stock on market on the top left. You've got 8 listings, 37.37% of total market listings. So there's virtually no stock that's on the market at the moment. The inventory is less than 1 month. So at the current sales rate, there'll be no stock left within 1 month. The hold period is 7 years. So hold period is how long people hold their properties for before selling. So 7 years is considerable. I like to more target a little bit longer than that, but 7 years is okay. Building approvals, none, which means developers are not building anything in the area. There's no building approvals in Morningside. You can look further abroad, and I'm not going to do that in this session, but there are other building approvals further abroad. And again, if you're buying below replacement value in a superior suburb, then that can only mean one thing over time. So you have a look at the stock on market over time is decreasing because we're not building enough. It's probably no surprise to you there. And then the demand, the days on market at the moment is 10 days, which is crazy. So in other words, properties are selling once they hit the market within a week and a half. A typical market in a capital city will sit anywhere from 60 to 90 days in a normal cycle. So 60 to 90 days on market, that's 2 to 3 months. Generally, a tight market is when you start to go below that 60 days on market. That's when it starts to become a seller's market. And when you're below 30 days on market, that's when it really starts to become a seller's market. So we are in a seller's market here. So if you're in markets like this, you got to be smart about your buying. You either got to buy the property basically the first day that it hits the internet. So you got to be on it all the time. And I have admittedly bought lots of on-market properties like this. Or you've got to be calling around the agents to get stuff off market before it even hits the market. Vacancy rate, that's the vacancy rate of rental properties. It's only 1.24%. Generally, a balanced market sits at around the 2 to 3% vacancy rate. So anything less than that is a tight market, and it means rents are going to continue to increase. And you can see over time, days on market, they've reduced over time, and also discounting. So you can see there's these little discounting is the black dots. Discounting is virtually not happening because with 10 days on market, you basically are paying list price. You might be able to just negotiate a slight discount, but you're paying list price because the market is growing rapidly. Everton Park is another high-performing suburb. It's located about 9 kilometres north of Brisbane CBD. You can see at the bottom of the screen. And this is Everton Park just over to the northwest. I'll zoom in and I'll show you one of these properties. This is an example of a property under $500,000 in Everton Park. So this is a 2-bedroom townhouse. You can see from the front, it looks pretty neat and tidy. It is a little bit dated on the inside, but I'll show you that in a second. It's brick, low maintenance again. It does look modern. It's got the concrete driveway. It doesn't look like it's cracking. It's got some gardens beside the property. So it's an alternate to a house, and it's obviously a lot cheaper than buying a house in the area. And the inside, as I mentioned, it is a little bit dated, but it wouldn't take much to freshen up this property. Put down some vinyl plank flooring on top of these tiles. You can go straight over the top. You can see the light fittings and fixtures. There's a couple of those, including the fan. That looks like they need to be replaced. Again, pretty inexpensive, couple $100 per fitting. You can get new fittings. The kitchen is a bit dated. I'll show you that in the next photo. So kitchen's a bit dated. You could think about painting the cupboards, replacing the handles. Again, very inexpensive. It looks like you might need a new appliance, but that's acceptable for now. And bench top, you can paint it, or you can look at replacing the bench top. Might cost you a couple of $1,000s to replace the bench top. So very superficial things that can really add value to the property and also increase the rent substantially as well. So there's another photo of the back. Looking towards the front entry. You can also see there's a split system aircon already in this property on the right hand side. The stairs on the carpet, you might have noticed them before. It looks a bit dated, but the carpet on the stairs is acceptable enough depending on the rent and the tenant that you're expecting to attract. So upstairs it's got a couple of bedrooms. The bathroom looks like a two-way bathroom. Again, it's a bit dated. You could look at tiling over the top of those existing tiles, pretty inexpensive. Painting the vanity or replacing the vanity, again, not that expensive. You could really make a difference to this property by spending $10,000 or $15,000, adding a bit of extra value to it and renting it out for a lot higher price. So that is the property there. Again, that's the bathroom. Needs a bit of a makeover, but it's in pretty good condition, especially for this price. It's under $500,000, less than 10Ks from the CBD. And it's a townhouse, not a unit. Just to jump and show you where the property is. So it's at 128 Queens Road, Everton Park. You can see it's 2-bed, 1 bath, 1 car. It calls it a unit. It's a townhouse, and this rental income is relatively accurate. I think you could probably push $550 per week if you did a freshen up to this property. So if you spent $10,000, I reckon you'd get an extra $50 per week. So it's just being smart about where you're spending that money on renovating the property or freshening it up. And then you can see here it was sold mid-23 for $465,000. Now the market has gone up by a little bit since then, I agree. So if you had to pay a bit more of a premium for this property, I think there's still a lot more growth potential left in it. If you have a look at the 2019 price, someone in 2019 only paid $300,000 for this property. So it looks like there's a big jump in terms of percentage. You got a 50% growth from 2019 to 2023. But I think we're in for a bit more growth hereafter. So I don't think just because somebody bought it a few years ago for a lot less, don't think that there's not more capital growth left in this thing. And here are the stats on Everton Park and the reason why I selected this suburb. You can see the top one is the unit growth rate. So from about late 2020, it started to enter into the unit growth phase. And we're at 2024 now. So you've had like a full 3 years of solid growth in the unit market in that area. But because we're looking at a townhouse, which has more land component, we consider that houses had a growth as well from around mid-2020. It ended sort of in 2022, early 2022. So we had a quick growth sort of post-COVID, and then it's been flat up until sort of the start of 2024. So we're now entering into the houses growth market. So with houses rising in value, that can only mean that the difference between the house price and the unit price is going to increase, meaning the price of units is still going to continue to go up. That is my theory. So then have a look at the renter to owner occupy ratio. So the renters are of about 40% according to this. Most of those will be in units or townhouses. And then owner occupiers are 60%. I won't talk any more about that. The supply to market, you've basically got no listings in this window for units, that is. You've got one listing, hold period is 7 years. You've got inventory of basically nothing. Again, it's one listing. There's 13 building approvals, so there's no new stock coming to market. And you can see the stock on market has been declining over time. So that's on the supply side of things. So there's no supply coming up. And the demand is very tight as well. So you only got 34 days on market. As I mentioned before, 60 days is a balance, around about a balanced market for a capital city. So this is a tightly held market. The vacancy rate is only 1%. So you'll be able to rent your property very quickly. And you can see that days on market, which is the yellow one, and then the trending line, it's come down. So it's a tightening market as we've progressed through the years as well. So all very good indicators for a very solid growth market. Here's another really good property in Everton Park that somebody has purchased. This is a 2-bedroom, 1 bath as well. It doesn't look that flash from the outside, but have a look at the inside and you can also see that it's brick as well, so low maintenance. It doesn't need a little bit of an external cleanup. But generally it's in pretty good condition. I'd be just checking the sinking fund for the body corporate to see if they can paint some of these external fences and the letterbox on the right hand side. and maybe even these overhang things over the balconies and the balcony balustrades. But I'm going to show you the inside because the inside looks a lot better than the outside. So that's a couple of photos. You can see they've renovated the kitchen. They looks like a brand new kitchen. There's new floor covering, so the inside is really good in this property. Just a bit of a shame the outside lets it down, but somebody got a really good deal on this. So don't always judge a book by the cover. When you look at the outside, the inside is really nice in this property. So furniture also looks fantastic as well. You can see they've replaced light fittings, new light fittings over the kitchen, new tiles. Looks like there's new carpet on the stairs, paint has been done. So again, if you wanted to renovate the property yourself, you could do this, but obviously that costs money. If you buy something that's already done and you get it at a really good price in a growth suburb, then you don't have to worry about doing any of those renovation works. This is a property here, it's 48 Griffith Street. And one thing I didn't mention before is this property is only in a block of 4 townhouses. So it's gonna have low body corporate for one, and also it's a fairly unique offering. You're not in a block of 100 townhouses or units where you got 99 others that are exactly the same. This is only one of 4, so that's really good for resale and capital growth. You can see their estimated income is around $560 per week at the moment. You could push that again. It is renovated, so it's nicer. So you can push a little bit higher with the rent, and you can see the sale price. This was in mid-2023, $480,000, under $500,000. Even if this property you can buy, even if you buy this property for a little bit more than $480,000 now, I still think it's fantastic buying, and it's got a lot more capital growth left to go. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video, and if you love the content, please let me know in the comments below. If there's other areas you want me to analyze, please comment them as well. See you on the next one.